For years we've been told that the secret to effortless fat loss lies in a cup of green tea. You've seen it everywhere. Magazines, commercials, fitness influencers, all promising that if you just sip this magical brew every morning, the fat will melt away. It sounds comforting, doesn't it? Something so simple, so natural, could fix one of the most complex issues of modern health. But here's the truth, it doesn't work that way. And deep down, you probably already know it. You've tried it. You've sipped cup after cup, hoping for change, but the scale doesn't move, the belly doesn't shrink, and your energy doesn't rise. That's not your fault. It's the story you were sold. See, green tea was never the miracle people were led to believe. It's not that it's bad for you, it has antioxidants, sure, but the idea that it somehow melts fat is a marketing invention. When researchers actually studied it, the results were modest at best. A tiny increase in calorie burn, maybe a few dozen extra calories per day, the equivalent of walking for 5 minutes. That's hardly a game changer. And yet, companies took that little flicker of truth and turned it into a blazing promise. They sold you hope in a tea bag. What's worse is that for some people, especially those under chronic stress, green tea can actually make things harder. It contains caffeine, and caffeine spikes your cortisol, your body's main stress hormone. Now, cortisol isn't bad in itself. It helps you wake up, stay alert, handle challenges. But when it's chronically elevated, your body starts storing fat, particularly around your belly. Your metabolism slows, your hunger hormones go haywire, and suddenly, no matter how clean you eat or how much you move, your body refuses to let go of that fat. It's protecting you. It thinks you're in danger. And that's where the real issue lies. It's not about drinking something that burns fat. It's about creating an internal environment where your body feels safe enough to release fat. Fat storage is a survival mechanism, not a failure of willpower. Your body holds on to energy when it senses stress, toxicity, or instability. So if your morning routine starts with something that spikes your stress response, even mildly, you've already sent the wrong message to your metabolism. Now think about how we use green tea. Most people drink it on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning, often while scrolling their phone, checking emails, rushing through the day. You're pairing a stress-triggering chemical, caffeine, with a stressful behavior, multitasking. And then we wonder why we're tired by mid-morning and craving sugar by lunch. The body's chemistry doesn't lie. It's simply responding to the inputs you give it. But here's the hopeful part once you understand that you can change it. You can start your day differently. You can choose a drink that doesn't trigger cortisol, that doesn't disrupt insulin, that actually hydrates your cells and tells your body, you're safe, you can burn energy now. That's the real key. Not a stimulant, not a detox myth, but metabolic communication. See, your metabolism isn't something you force. You don't rev it up like an engine. You coax it, you support it, you teach it. And your first drink in the morning is your first message of the day. Green tea sends the message of alertness. It jolts you awake, but not of calm, not of metabolic safety. What you really want is a signal that says energy is available. Stress is low. Fat can be released. That's what the right morning drink accomplishes. And here's something most people overlook. Green tea, when processed, loses many of the plant's natural compounds that actually help regulate glucose and insulin. The powdered versions, the bottled versions, the detox teas loaded with artificial flavors and sweeteners, they're stripped of real nutritional benefit. What's left is caffeine and marketing. So when you start your morning with it, thinking you're doing something healthy, you might actually be tricking your body into a stress response it didn't need. The truth is, our culture has been conditioned to look for shortcuts. We want a single drink, pill, or powder to fix what took years to build up. But the body isn't fooled by trends. It responds to biology, not branding. And when you feed it something that aligns with its natural rhythms, when you respect its hormonal balance, it rewards you. You don't have to fight for every ounce of fat loss. The process becomes effortless, not because of what you add, but because of what you stop forcing. So yes, it's time to forget green tea. Not because it's evil, but because it's overhyped. Because there's something that works with your biology instead of against it. Something that doesn't rely on caffeine to wake you up, but on natural restoration to keep you going. Something that doesn't make promises. It delivers results quietly through the language your body understands: best balance, hydration, and hormonal calm. When you shift that one small choice in the morning, you're not just changing a drink. You're changing the entire hormonal conversation your body has with itself. And that's where real fat burning begins, not with hype, not with hope, but with understanding. Let's talk about what actually happens inside your body in the morning, because that's where the real story begins. When you wake up, your body is coming out of a natural fast, maybe 8 hours, maybe more. During that time, your insulin levels have dropped, your liver has been busy cleaning house, and your body's ready to decide what kind of fuel it's going to burn next. You're standing at a metabolic crossroads. The first thing you consume will tell your body whether to start burning fat for fuel or to flip right back into fat storing mode. Now, most people think they can trick the system, that they can drink something like green tea, get a small metabolism boost, and suddenly start melting fat. But metabolism isn't about speeding things up, it's about balance. about whether your body's in a state to use energy efficiently. The real secret isn't in how fast your body burns calories, it's in how well it switches between burning sugar and burning fat. That switch is called metabolic flexibility, and it's controlled by hormones insulin, cortisol, leptin, ghrelin. When those are in sync, your body naturally burns stored fat. When they're out of sync, you store more of it, even if you eat less. Think of insulin as the master switch. When you eat or drink something that raises insulin, your body gets the message you store energy. When insulin is low, it says release energy. So in the morning, if you start your day with something that stabilizes insulin, that keeps your blood sugar low and steady, your body opens the gates to burn stored fat. But if your first drink spikes your insulin, that window closes. And once it's closed, it can take hours before your body even gets another chance to burn fat again. That's why the first thing you put in your mouth matters so much. When you start with sugar, juice, or sweetened coffee, you're basically telling your metabolism, let's store fat today. Your liver gets flooded with glucose, your insulin shoots up, and all that beautiful overnight fat burning gets shut down in seconds. Even natural sweeteners, or healthy smoothies, can do it. The morning is when your body's most sensitive. It's ready to respond, and what you choose either unlocks or locks that response. Now imagine instead starting your day with something that hydrates your cells, replenishes your electrolytes, and supports your mitochondria, the little engines in your cells that actually burn fat. Imagine something that tells your liver, you can keep doing what you were doing overnight, detoxifying, cleaning, releasing. That's what the right morning drink does. It doesn't shock your system awake, it gently guides it into a fat-burning rhythm. It helps your body wake up on its own terms, instead of forcing it into a stressed, reactive state. Because here's the truth, real fat loss doesn't come from effort, it comes from alignment. You can't outwork a confused metabolism. You have to teach it the right rhythm, the right sequence. And that starts with understanding your body's morning biochemistry. When you wake up, your cortisol rises naturally. It's what helps you feel alert. If you pile caffeine on top of that, you push cortisol even higher. Your blood sugar spikes, then crashes, leaving you tired, hungry, and craving carbs by mid-morning. But if your morning drink helps your cortisol gradually normalize, instead of amplifying it, your body stays calm. It burns fat steadily throughout the day, without the roller coaster. And this is where hydration plays a silent but crucial role. Fat metabolism actually depends on water. The process of breaking down fat, lipolysis, requires adequate hydration. When you're dehydrated, your fat cells literally can't release stored energy as efficiently. Yet most people start their morning with dehydrating drinks, coffee, tea, energy beverages, instead of replenishing the water their body lost overnight. So even before breakfast, their metabolism's already at a disadvantage. It's also worth mentioning your liver, the true hero of your metabolism. Overnight, your liver's been converting fat into energy, cleaning out waste, and preparing you for the next day. But if you wake up and immediately hit it with sugar, caffeine, or processed additives, you overload it. Instead of continuing to burn fat, it switches gears to process the incoming load. But when your first drink is something clean, restorative, and supportive, something that helps flush toxins rather than add to them, your liver keeps doing what it does best, turning stored fat into usable fuel. And that's what we mean when we talk about activating fat burn constantly. It's not magic and it's not hype. It's simply letting your body continue the process it naturally began overnight. You're not forcing it, you're allowing it. The Phay-1 morning drink works with your biology. It doesn't fight it. It stabilizes insulin, balances cortisol, supports hydration, and wakes up your mitochondria without shock or stress. The difference is night and day. When you get this right, you don't feel jittery, you feel steady. You don't crave sugar, you feel satisfied. You don't drag through the afternoon, your energy stays even. That's the sign of a metabolism that's working with you, not against you. And all it takes is changing that first moment of the day, that first signal you send to your body, from stimulation to restoration. That's where fat burning truly begins, not with caffeine, not with hype, but with understanding how your body wakes up and what message it needs to hear when it does. Most people wake up in the morning thinking they're doing everything right. They reach for their favorite drink, maybe a splash of juice, a cup of coffee with a little creamer, or one of those so-called healthy smoothies they saw online. It feels like a good start. It tastes refreshing, it's quick, it's familiar. But here's the problem, that innocent morning habit is often the very reason the body never gets the chance to burn fat. What feels like nourishment is actually sabotage, and most of us don't even realize it's happening. When you wake up, your body's still in a delicate state. You've just spent hours fasting, repairing, cleaning, resetting. Your liver has been breaking down stored fat, flushing out toxins, and stabilizing your blood sugar. The system is calm and balanced, ready to continue that natural fat burning process. But the moment you put something sugary or insulin triggering into your body, everything changes. Insulin spikes, cortisol rises, and your metabolism shifts direction from releasing fat to storing it. That's how fast it happens. Let's take that healthy fruit juice as an example. It sounds natural, right? But when you strip the fiber from fruit and just drink the liquid, you're left with concentrated fructose. That sugar goes straight to your liver, where it gets converted into fat almost immediately. The same thing happens with flavored coffees, even if they're labeled sugar-free. Artificial sweeteners might not raise your blood sugar directly, but they still trick your brain into thinking sugar is coming, which sets off the same hormonal cascade. The body starts preparing to store energy, not release it. And if this is the first thing you do every day, your metabolism never has a chance to reset. Even things like oat milk or almond milk, the ones people think are healthier, often have added sugars, gums, or oils that disrupt how your body processes nutrients. Your liver, instead of continuing its cleanup work, gets stuck processing those additives. It's like waking up ready for a fresh start and then being handed a pile of new chores before you've even had a moment to breathe. That's what your liver feels every single morning. And then there's caffeine. When you take it first thing on an empty stomach, it spikes cortisol, that stress hormone we talked about earlier. Cortisol is supposed to be high in the morning, yes, but not that high. When you push it too far, your blood sugar rises, your insulin follows, and the body once again gets the message to hold on to fat, particularly around your midsection. That's why so many people feel wired at first and then crash a couple of hours later. The body's simply responding to the stress signals we're giving it. You can't outsmart biology. Every action has a reaction. The modern morning routine, the quick caffeine, the sweet drink, the processed energy booster, it all sends one clear message of stress. And when the body feels stressed, it stores. It doesn't matter how clean the rest of your diet is or how much you exercise. If the first message you give your metabolism each morning is one of instability, your body will prioritize protection over fat release. It's ironic, really. We think we're starting the day strong, but we're starting it scared. We're telling our bodies that food is unpredictable, that energy is uncertain, that it should cling to every calorie just in case. And then we wonder why fat loss feels impossible. But it's not impossible, it's just miscommunicated. The body doesn't need more effort, it needs clearer instructions. So what happens when you reverse that message? When your morning drink doesn't flood your liver with sugar or overload it with stress hormones, but instead supports hydration, mineral balance, and gentle detoxification. Suddenly your metabolism has room to breathe again. Your cells can unlock fat stores for fuel because they finally feel safe to do so. Your insulin stays low, your energy stays stable, and your cravings start to disappear. That's not magic, that's physiology. The hidden saboteurs of your morning, the juices, the creamers, the sweeteners, are only powerful because they're invisible. They're habits. But the moment you shine a light on them, you take back control. You start realizing that your morning isn't about stimulation, it's about restoration. You don't need to shock your system awake, you need to wake it up gently in a way that aligns with its natural rhythm. And once you experience that shift, everything changes. You don't just lose fat faster, you feel lighter in every sense. Your energy evens out, your mood stabilizes, you stop craving sugar because your body isn't crying out for balance anymore. The fatigue lifts because your cells are finally using the energy they already have. The truth is, your metabolism isn't broken, it's just been confused by mixed signals. When you give it the right message in the morning, it listens. It starts burning fat again, not because you forced it to, but because you stopped interrupting it. That's what this is really about, getting out of your body's way so it can do what it's designed to do. So the next time you reach for that morning drink, ask yourself, is this helping my body feel safe enough to burn fat, or is it telling my body to hold on? Because that single choice, that one tiny decision, determines how your metabolism behaves for the rest of the day. And when you start the day right, everything else begins to fall into place. The truth is, the body doesn't need something complicated or exotic to burn fat. It needs something that speaks its language, a simple, natural combination that works with your biology instead of fighting against it. People are always searching for that one miracle drink, the secret recipe that melts fat overnight. But the real secret isn't hidden in an ancient herb or some expensive powder. It's right there in how your body wakes up each morning and what you choose to give it in that fragile window between rest and activity. That's where transformation begins. The Fay One morning drink that actually works isn't about stimulation, it's about communication. It tells your body, you're safe, you're hydrated, you can let go. And when your body feels that message, it starts shifting from stress to healing, from storing to burning. This isn't a product, it's a principle. A combination of natural elements that your cells instantly recognize and use. Think of it like turning on your metabolism switchboard with the right frequency. When the signal is clear, everything starts working in harmony again. So what does this drink do exactly? It hydrates deeply, replenishes the minerals your body loses overnight, and activates your mitochondria, those little engines inside every cell that decide whether you burn fat or store it. It flushes out the toxic byproducts your liver has been working hard to remove all night. And it does all this without raising insulin, without spiking cortisol, and without tricking your body into thinking it's under stress. It simply restores the internal balance that allows fat burning to happen naturally. You see, fat isn't the enemy. Fat is stored energy, a reserve your body holds on to when it feels threatened or unstable. When your hormones are balanced, your body has no reason to cling to it. It starts releasing that energy steadily, efficiently, and sustainably. But when you start your morning the wrong way, with sugar, caffeine, or artificial additives, you send the opposite message. Your body thinks it's under attack, so it holds on tighter. The right morning drink flips that message completely. It lowers the stress hormone, stabilizes insulin, and supports the two most important organs for fat metabolism, the liver and the gut. Inside your liver, every sip you take sends a signal. If that signal is filled with glucose, fructose, or caffeine overload, the liver stops detoxing and starts storing. But if what you drink helps it cleanse and replenish, the liver keeps burning fat as fuel, just as it was doing overnight. It's like giving your body permission to keep healing instead of forcing it to adapt to another spike of stress. That's why the right drink works, because it continues the natural rhythm your metabolism already began during sleep. And then there's the hormonal side. The right morning drink helps calm cortisol, balance insulin, and regulate leptin, the hormone that tells your brain when you're full. It also steadies ghrelin, the hormone that drives hunger. When those two are in balance, you stop fighting cravings. You don't feel deprived because your body's finally getting the message that energy is available and stable. You're not chasing sugar highs or caffeine jolts anymore. Your metabolism starts to trust you again. You can actually feel the difference. Within a few days, your morning energy feels smoother. Not jittery, not heavy, just steady. Your focus sharpens. You don't crash mid-morning. You stop craving that extra snack before lunch because your body's already burning stored energy. That's not motivation. That's chemistry. That's what happens when you support your hormones instead of confusing them. And here's something most people miss: your body burns more fat when it's calm. Stress physiology shuts down fat metabolism because your body thinks it needs to conserve energy for survival. But calm physiology does the opposite. It opens the doors for energy release. That's why this drink works so powerfully. It signals calm. It hydrates, detoxifies, and balances all at once. And when your body feels calm, it feels safe to let go of stored fat. People often ask if this kind of drink is expensive or hard to make. Not at all. In fact, it's the simplicity that makes it effective. There's no need for fancy packaging or exotic claims. It's about restoring what your body actually needs first thing in the morning: clean hydration, natural minerals, and metabolic balance. That's it. Because when you give your cells what they need, they do the rest. They don't need to be forced, they just need to be freed. And that's the beauty of this. Once your body starts trusting you again, fat loss stops feeling like a battle. It becomes a process of alignment. You're not fighting biology, you're working with it. You're no longer waking up to stress your system. You're waking up to support it. And when that happens, fat doesn't need to be burned off through effort. It simply dissolves as your body returns to balance. So while the world is still chasing new superfoods, powders, and shortcuts, remember this: your metabolism isn't looking for stimulation. It's looking for safety, hydration, and consistency. The right morning drink gives it all three. It's not hype, it's not a fad. It's a conversation with your biology. And when you finally start that conversation in the right tone, your body listens, and it responds exactly the way it was designed to. When you really start to understand how this morning drink works, it becomes clear that it's not just about hydration or cleansing. It's about what happens inside your body at the hormonal level. Because fat burning isn't simply a calorie equation. It's a hormonal story, and every decision you make in the morning shapes that story for the rest of the day. The drink we're talking about doesn't force your metabolism to work harder. It restores the natural hormonal balance that allows fat burning to happen on its own. Your hormones are like the conductors of an orchestra. When they're in tune, everything flows smoothly. But when one goes off key, the entire rhythm collapses. Take insulin, for instance. It's the gatekeeper of energy. When it's high, fat stays locked away. When it's low and stable, your body can finally open those fat stores and use them as fuel. The problem is most modern mornings start with something that sends insulin skyrocketing: sugar, creamers, processed breakfast foods, even those so-called healthy LATs. So your metabolism never really gets the signal to burn fat, it just keeps storing it. The right morning drink changes that. It tells insulin to stay calm. It allows your liver and muscles to keep releasing energy instead of hoarding it. But insulin is only one part of the equation. Cortisol, your stress hormone, is another major player. It's meant to rise slightly in the morning to wake you up, but when it spikes too high, it tells your body to hang on to fat, especially around the abdomen. That's why people who are constantly stressed, even if they eat clean, find that belly fat refuses to budge. The right kind of morning drink helps regulate that cortisol curve. It keeps it in the healthy range, supporting alertness without pushing the body into panic mode. That's the difference between starting your day grounded versus starting it anxious and inflamed. Then there's leptin, the hormone that tells your brain you've had enough. When leptin is functioning properly, you naturally stop eating when you're full. But when it's out of sync, your brain never gets the message. You keep feeling hungry, even when your body has plenty of stored energy. That's what chronic inflammation and insulin resistance do. They muffle leptin's signal. The right morning drink helps clear that interference by lowering inflammation and stabilizing blood sugar. Over time, your brain starts to hear leptin again, and you begin eating from hunger, not habit. The same goes for ghrelin, the hormone that makes you feel hungry. In a healthy system, ghrelin rises before a meal and falls once you eat. But in people who start their morning with caffeine, sugar, or stress, ghrelin becomes unpredictable. You might find yourself hungry again an hour after breakfast or craving sweets by mid-morning, even though you've eaten enough. That's because your hormonal rhythm is out of sync. But when you start the day with a drink that supports these hormonal signals, one that hydrates, balances electrolytes, and keeps blood sugar steady, your ghrelin rhythm resets. Hunger becomes natural, not constant. And here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just about fat loss. When your hormones find their rhythm again, everything else improves. Your energy lasts longer because your cells are actually making ATP, the fuel that powers your body, efficiently. Your mood stabilizes because your brain isn't constantly reacting to sugar highs and crashes. Your digestion improves because your liver and gut aren't overloaded first thing in the morning. Even your sleep gets better because cortisol starts following its natural rise and fall pattern again. Most people underestimate how connected all of this is. They think fat loss happens in isolation, as if you can target one area without affecting another. But your hormones are a network. Insulin talks to leptin, leptin talks to cortisol, cortisol talks to ghrelin, and they all talk to your liver and brain. When you fix one, you begin to fix them all. And the simplest way to start that chain reaction is with what you do first thing in the morning. That's why the Phe1 morning drink works so powerfully. It doesn't just hydrate you, it resets that entire hormonal network. It gives your body the message it's been waiting for: stability. The moment your hormones sense that consistency, they stop panicking, stop storing, and start burning. Your metabolism shifts gears naturally, without force, without deprivation. You're no longer trying to fight your biology. You're finally working with it. And you can feel it not just in how your clothes fit, but in how you wake up. The fog lifts, your focus sharpens. You stop depending on caffeine to keep you moving. Your body starts to trust you again. Because that's really what fat loss is at its core, a process of rebuilding trust between your body and your habits. Once your hormones believe that energy will come consistently, that stress has quieted down, and that hydration and minerals are in place, the body finally lets go of what it was holding on to for protection. That's the shift this drink creates. It's not about speeding up your metabolism, it's about restoring its rhythm. Once that rhythm returns, fat burning becomes effortless. Not because you forced it, but because your hormones remembered how to do it. When people first hear that a simple morning ritual can change everything about how their body burns fat, they often think it sounds too easy. We're conditioned to believe that transformation has to be complicated, hours in the gym, strict diets, or some secret supplement. But the body doesn't need intensity, it needs consistency. What matters most is the message you send it every single morning. That first act, that small routine, becomes the foundation your entire metabolism builds itself on. Your morning ritual is more than a habit, it's communication. Every sip, every breath, every choice tells your body something about the world it's living in. When your morning begins with chaos, scrolling your phone, rushing out the door, chugging caffeine, your body hears, we're under pressure. It responds with stress hormones, fat storage, and inflammation. But when you start your morning calmly, with a drink that nourishes rather than stimulates, the body hears a completely different message. You're safe. You're cared for. You can burn energy now. That single difference changes everything. We underestimate how sensitive our bodies are to rhythm. The same way your brain thrives on routine, your hormones do too. They crave predictability. They want to know when they can rest, when they can release, when they can burn. When you create a consistent morning ritual, when your body knows that every day begins with hydration, minerals, and stability, it starts to trust the pattern. That trust lowers cortisol, steadies insulin, and improves fat metabolism without any conscious effort on your part. Your body simply begins to cooperate. And here's the beautiful thing, it doesn't take long to feel it. After a few days, you'll notice your mornings feel lighter. You'll wake up clearer, more energized, more grounded. Your cravings start to quiet down because your hunger hormones finally align. That calm, steady energy you feel, that's your metabolism finding its rhythm again. The ritual itself becomes a signal of safety, not just to your body, but to your mind. There's also something deeply psychological about starting your day with intention. Most of us wake up and immediately react to messages, to noise, to stress. But when you begin your morning deliberately, even with something as simple as preparing and drinking that restorative morning blend, you shift from reaction to creation. You're not being pulled by the world, you're setting the tone for it. That subtle shift in mindset carries through your entire day. You eat differently, move differently, think differently. Not because you're forcing discipline, but because your nervous system feels settled. That's why this morning ritual isn't just a fat-burning practice, it's a healing practice. It tells your body and brain the same thing, that you are in control, that the environment is stable, and that energy can flow freely. Fat loss is just one of the outcomes. The real transformation is in how you feel. Your digestion improves, your focus sharpens, your anxiety softens, and your sleep becomes deeper. You're no longer fighting your biology, you're flowing with it. Think about how much time and energy most people spend trying to fix their health through restriction, cutting calories, avoiding entire food groups, over-exercising. Those things might work temporarily, but they often send the wrong signal to your metabolism: scarcity, stress, and danger. And when the body senses danger, it shuts down fat burning completely. But when you begin your day from a place of nourishment and calm, you send the opposite message. You create abundance, not deprivation. You build safety, not tension. That's when the body starts letting go, not just of fat, but of inflammation, fatigue, and that constant feeling of struggle. Over time, this morning ritual becomes less about what's in the cup and more about what it represents. It's a commitment to self-regulation. It's the moment where you tell your body, I'm on your side, and the body listens. The hormonal balance that begins with this daily practice ripples through the entire day. Steady blood sugar, stable energy, better digestion, improved sleep, and a more balanced emotional state. Every system starts syncing to the same rhythm. That's the essence of real transformation. It's not about chasing energy, it's about building it. Not about forcing fat to burn, but allowing it to release naturally. When you show up every morning with consistency, when your ritual becomes as natural as breathing, your body learns to trust you again. And when that trust is restored, it stops clinging to excess. It stops holding on to what it doesn't need. Fat burning becomes effortless because your biology is no longer working against you. What began as a simple morning drink becomes a daily message of alignment. You start to realize that health isn't built through struggle, it's built through rhythm. Every morning, as you take that moment to breathe, hydrate, and reset, you're not just changing your metabolism, you're rewriting your relationship with your body. You're teaching it that safety is the new normal. And when that becomes your baseline, everything else, focus, vitality, and yes, fat loss, falls into place naturally.